Welcome everyone to the first ever episode of BYOB. Concept is very simple. I get to talk to someone very cool, very interesting people. They come in, they bring something to drink, and then we discuss about their life, about their path into entrepreneurship, more about creativity and marketing as well. And today I have the chance of having Kat Morse. Hello, Kat.
Hi.
Thank you very much for being here. First of all, I guess that's the rule. What are we drinking?
We are drinking an awesome wine. It's one of my favorite grape varietals, Grüner Veltliner. It's called Mrs. Green Jeans. It's from the Kamptal region of Austria, and it's a wine that goes really, really well with wine and food. So it's a great wine. The label's really cool, and it's actually made by a friend of mine in conjunction with one of the best winemakers in Austria. So it's a great wine.
He is one of the best?
Yeah, the guy he made it with. So my friend Dan.
So you made it with someone?
Yeah, my friend Dan made this wine, and he made it with this guy named Fred Leumer, who is basically the king of Austrian wines. So it's a really cool wine. It's a really young wine, not in age actually per se, but really in like, it's really luscious and vibrant. It's a really cool wine to drink. And you either hate or love the
I think it's, we were talking about this earlier, but like some people hate it because it's too, I don't know, you get like
out
laser
there
stuff and aliens and things, but some people love it, some people like really hate it, because I talked to a few people and they think like, well, the wine must be
terrible,
not that good because of the label. But I think it's brilliant. Honestly.
I think it's cool. Yeah, and I think he's really appealing to like a younger generation. And millennials are the people who are starting to drink a lot more wine. So I think it's perfect for this.
All right, pretty cool. Thank you very much. So you chose wine because you're the wine expert. We're gonna talk about Wine Me, of course, the startup you work with, and the Wine Academy that is part of Wine Me that you founded. But before we get into this, I want to know more about yourself and about your journey into coming to Switzerland, because you're not from Switzerland, and all the things that you've gone through from your school and where you were born, and how did you move to Switzerland and so on.
Okay.
So let's start like at the beginning. And where did you grow up? Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born on a stormy night. No, I'm just kidding. I was born in Chicago, actually. So I was born in Chicago in the United States, and I grew up both in Chicago and in Manila. So my parents are Filipino, and they moved to the U.S. before I was born to give me a better life. And actually, they're both entrepreneurs as well.
So they were both from the Philippines?
They're both from
and
the
they
Philippines.
moved to Chicago first?
Yes, by way of other cities, but settled in Chicago.
Okay.
Yes.
So you grew up in Chicago or you moved afterwards?
No, we grew up in Chicago and Manila. I split my time half and half between the both.
Okay. You still have family in Manila, right?
Most of my family. 90% of the family is in Manila.
Okay. So you grew up in Chicago. Did you studied there for like until what?
I moved back to the Philippines when I was pretty young, and then moved back to Chicago, and then moved back to the Philippines.
That's a lot of moving back.
It's a lot of moving back. So I really moved I moved 100% to the States when I was 12.
12?
Yes.
In
junior high.
But was it in Chicago again?
In Chicago, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did where did you do all your like high school? I don't know how you call it in
high school. It was in Chicago.
High school in Chicago, and then you moved to university.
I moved to University of New York.
New York,
yes.
Studying
neuroscience.
Neuroscience?
Yeah, I was actually accepted into this. I was accepted into this program for pre-med. So basically, when you get accepted into this program, you don't need to take the MCAT, and you get accepted both in university and in the medical school at the same time.
Okay.
And so I got accepted into the program, started studying neuroscience, which was my passion. Loved neuroscience. And junior year, after I became an EMT, after I did a lot of research on neuroscience and neuroplasticity and learning and video game research. Actually, that was my research in undergrad.
Pretty cool.
Yep. And how quickly people learn with video games specifically and their attention spans. I decided I didn't want to be a doctor anymore, and I wanted to do something else.
Okay.
But I was already accepted.
So how long did you spend in neuroscience?
No, 4 years.
So you finished?
I have a bachelor's of science in neuroscience.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep, I have a bachelor's of science in neuroscience. So what is it? Neuroscience with a concentration on neuroplasticity and learning.
Again,
that's my bachelor's.
I have no idea what it means, but it sounds very. Very interesting.
It's really interesting. It's really complicated, and actually, I love it because I learned how people thought and how people learned, and that I think is actually great for the Wine Academy because I learned a lot about both psychology, but more of the neuroscience part of it, how people's brains work, and how much attention they can devote to something. So I thought it's pretty interesting.
Okay,
It
cool.
actually is helpful for the Wine Academy because I structure our courses differently.
Differently depends on what you learn.
Exactly, and how you learn.
Okay, pretty cool. So you did neuroscience for like 4 years, graduated, and then decided you wanted to do something else.
Yes,
You
actually.
decided you wanted to do something else, or like was it like someone that told you, or was it like just you, like, oh, I have to do something else, or?
No, my parents said, I said to my parents, I don't want to be a doctor anymore. And they said, well, you're already accepted into medical school. And I said, yeah, well, oh well. And they said, okay, you're going to be a lawyer. That's how I became a lawyer.
Okay.
They told me I had
So
to.
they decided.
They decided, yes.
Okay,
But
so
I took a year off. And I kind of thought that I would want to do something in business. So I took a year off and worked in Las Vegas, actually, doing marketing.
Okay.
So that's
For
the first time I moved
year.
to Las Vegas, yeah, for a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then went back to
And then I
Chicago.
went back to Chicago because I
Doing
wanted to do patent law. So patent law, it's,
Okay.
it's law of intellectual property and filing patents. And the only way you can do that is if you have a science background. Neuroscience counts as a science
Really?
background. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can only do patent law if you have engineering or science or math background. And you have to take a patent bar and the normal bar.
Okay, so that's how long?
3 years.
So you did the 3 years,
And I got my JD,
graduated,
graduated,
and then started working as a lawyer.
Started working as a lawyer, and actually partway through, I did a patent, basically an internship with a patent attorney,
Okay.
a patent course, and I was like, this is the worst thing in the world. It's so boring because you sit behind a desk and you look at diagrams and you research other diagrams to see if anyone has come up with the idea first.
Okay.
Which sounds cool, but you literally talk to nobody, and
That's not really who
it's
you
not
are.
my
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
So
I
were you into wine at that point, or not at all? Or just a bit?
No. I started liking wine. I went to school at University of Rochester, my undergraduate, and University of Rochester is right near the Finger Lakes region of New York,
Okay.
which makes awesome Riesling. And at the time, it wasn't really well known. And actually, the first time I went on a wine tour and realized that I really liked wine, I went on a wine tasting with my church.
Okay.
So my
Why not?
priest drove me around,
And he showed you the way.
Well,
Of
so
wine.
he just kind of took all of us to different wineries.
Okay.
And I didn't know how to wine taste at that time, so I got really drunk. And afterwards, I took notes because I'm a big dork. And so, I took notes anyways. And I looked back and I was like, wait a second, these are really good. And so I started buying more New York Rieslings. And I was like, Kat, that's ridiculous. This is Riesling from New York. Why would it be good? And a couple of years later, people started saying, New York Riesling is fantastic. I was like, actually, I thought
knew
about
that.
it a long time. I knew that. So
it was in the back of your head for quite some time.
yeah, I
But it
knew
was not
at
really
that time.
something. It was like, okay, that's something I love. It's kind of a hobby.
Yeah.
Something that I have on the side.
Yes.
But I'm working on my neuroscience, on my
Right.
law school or whatever.
I took some sommelier classes while I was in law school, just to survive.
Okay, but
Because I hated it.
you took the classes,
Mm-hmm.
or you gave the classes.
No, I took the
Oh,
classes.
you took the classes
I took
just
the
to
classes.
learn more. And
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so it was something that you started to love.
Right, and it was definitely my passion in law school, and I started like a tasting.
So you started getting more into it and more into it, and
Yes.
learning more and reading. And
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So really, the passion started in law school to survive law school.
So then you finished law school,
Mm-hmm. And
and
then
it was like, okay, let's
be an attorney.
do. Okay,
So I was-
let's work as a.
Yeah, I was corporate in-house counsel for a multinational company in Las Vegas.
It's okay. And how long did you work in law?
In law, basically 2010 to 2013.
So 3 years.
So 3 years,
So
yeah.
you worked 3 years, and at some point you say, okay, did you okay, now fuck that, I need to do something else, or something happened and then you did something else, or
A little bit, because I was working, I always did my summer associate at the place that I ended up getting the job in. So summer associates in between your years of law school.
okay,
And so I did 2 years, I summered there, and did work for their corporate in-house. And then they offered me a job eventually, and that's when my husband called and said, guess what, we're moving to Switzerland. And I said, what? I have a great job. This is the job I want to do. And he's like, well, it's only for a year, so don't worry about it. I said, okay. So I kept my job in Las Vegas while I lived here.
Okay.
So every month, every 3 weeks, every month, I would go back for 3 weeks or a month to Las Vegas. And then I would telecommute while I was here. So it's 9 hours of difference. So that was a bit tough. So after basically in 2013, I was like, this is terrible. I can't do this. I have no life here. I don't know anything about Geneva. I don't know anything about anyone. And I decided that I did a little bit of research and found that there was no one teaching wine courses in English in Geneva.
Okay.
And so I decided to start that. So I started out with a small class at CERN, which is the laboratory that my husband works with. And that filled up in, I think, 4 minutes. So I opened another one, and that filled up in 20 minutes. And so I said, okay, there's something here. And then I started working on wine. And it was actually only supposed to be for 6 months because we said, well, we're leaving in 6 months. And now it's 2015 and I'm still here.
Okay, but what I'm really interested in is like, you did the shift between being a lawyer in, working into the wine business.
Mm-hmm. But why?
That was because you had to. I mean, because your husband was moving,
mm-hmm.
you arrived here, and because, I mean, yeah, you could go back and forth, but at some point you go like, this is not what I want to do,
mm-hmm.
and I have this opportunity of doing this.
Sort of, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if, let's say, if your husband had never moved in Switzerland,
mm-hmm.
do you think at some point you would have said, okay, I don't want to work in law anymore, I want to work in wine? Or was it more because of the situation?
No,
you think you would have done it at some point anyway because like that was the
mm-hmm.
like what you would need to do,
Yes, I would have 100% done it anyway.
Okay.
In 2008, somebody asked me what I wanted to do. If I could do anything in the world, what I wanted to do. And I said I wanted to, what did I say exactly? I said either I wanted to open a bake shop and serve wine and baked goods and be a library, which actually nowadays, maybe it'd be interesting later. But I said that I wanted to become a wine importer and do wine events and import the wine that I loved and show this to everybody and do different wine events. And now it's 2015, it's 7 years later. I said, yes, in 20 years in the future, I want to do this. So 7 years later is not bad.
Okay.
I'm pretty happy.
Okay,
so this
cool.
was during law school. People asked, we was
yeah, exactly. It's the kind of question like, what would you do if money was no object?
Exactly.
Yeah, I hate that. Okay.
And so yeah, that's what I said too. I was like,
but that's good because you realize you most of the time you don't do what you would like to be doing.
Right.
And you're like, okay, that something needs to be
done. Yeah.
Okay.
And really, it wasn't born out of necessity because I had a great job and I made great money and my office had a big view of the strip and it was beautiful and I liked what I was doing, but I didn't love it. When I wasn't at work, I was thinking about wine. So even I was working, as an attorney, you work very, very long hours. So I'd work 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock and I'd go home and read about wine or watch a documentary about wine. So wine, I was obsessed with it.
And then you realize that the stuff that you do during your free time is the stuff that you actually love.
Yeah.
And that you should be focusing on this.
Exactly.
Every for the 18 hours you actually
exactly.
of the day.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I loved wine, and I still love wine. I think that wine is a fascinating beverage. So, to me, eventually, no matter what if I had stayed a lawyer for 15 years, eventually
at some point you would have
I would have said I have to do this myself.
Let's do it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you moved to neuroscience, from neuroscience to law. And then from law to wine.
Yeah, it's kind of
that's good. That's a good journey. It's cool. It's good. At least it makes a good story.
Yeah.
And from the Philippines to the US to Switzerland,
mm-hmm.
which is
a
big change.
Yeah.
So you've been here in Geneva for how long?
Almost 5 years.
Almost 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a year at the beginning and now 5 years.
Yes.
Okay. So you fell in love with the country.
I adore Switzerland.
Okay. Cool. And now you're working with let's dive into like Wine Me and the Wine Academy more
mm-hmm.
specifically because that's something I'm really interested in. So Wine Me, just in a few words, you deliver bottles of wine every month. So
mm-hmm.
it's a subscription-based website. So you deliver 3 bottles of wine to your subscribers every door. So
mm-hmm.
you have maybe you can
Yeah, I
tell
can.
more about that.
For me, Wine Me, the thing that makes us different from other places is we are a sommelier curated wine service. So it's not like you're going to the store and just picking up. It doesn't really matter what wine, and looking at it on the label. We taste 200, 300 bottles of wine a month to figure out which wines that we want to give to our clients. So it's already sommelier curated, and the Wine Me something actually added on top of that.
Okay, and you've started a few months ago
The Wine Academy.
The Wine Academy.
Yes, we started in January, the Wine Academy.
So what I really love about the Wine Academy is the overall concept of changing the way we learn about wine and changing, using technology to change the way we learn about wine.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
And is it your goal with the Wine Academy of changing the way we learn about wine?
Yes.
And can you tell us more about why is it different than the other books or blogs that you can find?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are pretty good.
Yeah.
But what is the difference with the Wine Academy?
So the purpose behind the Wine Academy is for people who are like us, who are way too busy to learn about wine, who can't come to one of our intensive courses for 10 weeks to learn different things about wine. It's for people who, actually, for me the Wine Academy came about because I had friends who were attorneys in the United States who found out that I was teaching these classes here and Skyped in to the classes here.
Okay.
And they said, is there any way that we can take your classes? I said, yeah, of course you can Skype in and take them, but it's not going to be the same because you don't have the wine. So I would send them a list of wines that we would be tasting, and they would try and find similar versions. And they said, why don't you make online wine courses? And so we thought it'd be an interesting idea to try and do online wine courses. And the thing that makes our Wine Academy completely different is because we really take everyone by the hand and let them learn about wine. For us, the most important thing is to taste the wine that you're drinking. You can learn about it in theory. It's just like neuroscience. You can learn about it in theory.
Yeah, you can learn everything by it. But just to make, so that everybody understand, you get the wine at home, so you don't move from your house. You get the wine, and then you're going to have the course that you receive, but on the wine,
tailored to
the wine that you have at home, so you can taste it with your friends or whoever you want,
exactly.
and then follow the course
right.
that is linked to the wine.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not just because sometimes I know that when I was trying to learn a bit more about wine, you read stuff and you're like, okay, Chardonnay is supposed to taste like this and that, but you read it and then you kind of forget it,
right?
And you don't think about it. But when you have it or if you do a class, for example, you have someone that tells you this wine is supposed to taste like this and these flavors, and it's way easier because you remember what you taste because you have it in front of you and you do it in the moment.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so that's okay. So people get the wine, they get the courses, and how do the courses are different than the one that you can find online?
So the courses that we do, we actually distill all the information for everyone because you can find wine courses online, but they give you a lot of information. And we've taught over 800 students now with Wine Me, and we've kind of curated the different questions that they always ask and what they want to know about the wine. So what we do is we take the things that people need to know about the wine and distill it to something that's easy, simple, and that they can learn quickly. Because like you said, you could read through wine books and wine blogs, and it's all kind of sporadic information. With the Wine Academy, you get the wine, you get a history about the grape, you get a history about the house, and you get what you need to know, the important facts.
Okay, because at some point, as you said, sometimes you read stuff and there's so many information. They go like, this I don't care, this I don't care. Exactly. I mean, if you want to become a wine expert, like you said, you start reading 5 hours a day about wine, and that's fine because that's what you love. But if you just want to learn something because you think it's fun, you just want bits of information that you can reuse to look smart, or just because you like it, or just because you like it and you go okay, now I know this and it's fun, it's good to know, and it's kind of a hobby and I like it. But you don't want the whole thing where you go okay, this I don't care about all this, because that I just want the results, and I got this and that, I know these facts, I'm happy. So that's what you deliver. Exactly.
And with our lessons, if you don't care about the history of Cabernet Sauvignon and you only care about what's going to go well with it, then you only do the lesson. You switch to the lesson that says, okay, what pairs well with this wine. You don't have to do the history if you don't want to.
You don't have to do everything. Okay. And anyway, you get wine at home, so you're happy even if you don't want it.
Exactly. Wine comes to your door. It's easy.
And how long do you actually count for, someone that knows nothing about wine? He comes in and says, I want to learn, I'm going to use the Wine Academy. How long do you think it takes to, of course, not become a wine expert, but to know a little bit about wine and say, okay, I know a bit, I know a few wines, I know how to pick wine in a restaurant, I know how to, say that I love this one, or even know what you like, because I think that's pretty important, because and how long do you think that takes, and how long is the Wine Academy?
The Wine Academy is 6 months.
Okay.
With an option to extend to 9 months.
Okay.
And that's all it takes.
So you think, let's say, between 6 and 9 is what it takes to
know wine.
To know wine and
let's say to get a good foundation on wine.
Yeah, and then if you want to learn more, that's another story. You can always do classes and stuff.
Exactly.
But that's the basic of what you need.
6 to 9 months. That's all you need.
Okay.
And to taste a lot of wine because it's important.
But if you do 6. You taste 18 wines, no? With the Wine Academy, because every 3 months you get a different wine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So each month you get 3 different wines with the Wine Academy.
So red, white, only red and white. So you also go with
only
champagnes and stuff.
Only red and white for the moment, but we are thinking to expand it to do. Right now for the Wine Academy, we're concentrating on doing the international varietals. These are varietals that that are planted throughout the world. So like Cabernet Sauvignon or Riesling or Sauvignon Blanc. But in the future, what we want to do is to delve deeper into regions and into other types of wine as well. So I imagine that because I'm Swiss Champagne Ambassador, that we will do a Wine Academy on only champagne, and that people will receive champagne at their door.
And they can choose okay, I really want to learn about this, and then they can choose which one they want to go for, and they receive the wine and the courses, and depending on what they want to learn exactly.
Right.
So that's the next step.
That's the next step.
Pretty cool. All right, cool. Now we're gonna wrap up in a few minutes, but there's one thing that I want to do because I'm always looking for some books to read. So the way I want to do it is finish the interview with a book's recommendation that you have. The last 2 or 3 things that you've been reading that you really love, and that I can start reading.
Great. Okay. So for entrepreneurship, can I give a couple?
Sure. Go ahead.
For entrepreneurship, since I never got my MBA and I got my JD instead, I really liked Personal MBA by Josh Kaufman.
Okay.
Thought it was really interesting. It's a high-level overview, which I think is pretty good. For a podcast that I really like is Smart Passive Income by this guy named Pat Flynn, who interviews different entrepreneurs. A lot of them are based online.
Okay.
So I think it's really interesting. It gets new ideas. It's quite creative. So I really like that one. Oh, obviously.
So they discuss case studies, how they make passive income, what they've built, and how they get.
But they also do how to improve as well.
Okay.
So for instance, they did a great one with the guys who run The Art of Charm. It's about how to network.
Okay.
So it's a very interesting podcast.
Sweet. It's once a week, once a month?
It's once a week.
Once
at
a week?
least. Yeah.
Okay. What's the name again?
Smart Passive Income.
Smart Passive Income.
Plus the guy's half Filipino, so I think
so that's why you listen to it.
I didn't know that just until recently.
Sure. It's a podcast, so you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Okay, fine.
So that's my 2 entrepreneur ones. If you want a really cool wine book, I have a couple actually. The History of the World in 9 Glasses, which is a really cool book.
Just 9 glasses?
Yeah, it talks not just about wine, about coffee, tea, soda. It's really interesting. And it talks about how history has progressed, how we started off with beer, and then we went to wine. And then
it's the story of
the world
of
in
drinks.
It's
That's
really cool. I think you'd really like it actually.
Yeah.
That's a perfect
What's
book
the
for
name?
you. History of the World in 9 Glasses, if I remember correctly.
It's is that a book or I don't know how you call these, the big books with the images and everything?
No, it's just a book.
It's a novel.
It's a novel. I'll bring it for you at some point.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a really cool book. I really like that one. If you want an interesting wine book, my favorite wine book is The World Atlas of Wines, which is kind of what got me my start in wine, and I just read it ravenously.
So that was one of the first.
Yes. One of the first wine books that I really.
So that would be the book you recommend to someone that want to
definitely
get into wine and learn more about wine and
World Atlas of
to
Wines.
get started.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay. So we did books. Last thing that I want to know, and we discussed this earlier, was I'm really into morning routines and what you do by the time you wake up and by the time you, let's say, leave to work. Or if you work at home, by the time you start working. Do you have one? Do you want to have one? Like, what's your position on this?
So I had one.
Okay.
And then, life gets in the way and things like this.
Exactly.
But I'll tell you what my perfect morning routine
that's good.
would be. So my perfect morning routine would be wake up quite early. I love waking up early. I think I'm.
What's early? Because for a lot of people.
5:30.
Okay, that's quite good.
I really like waking up. If I could work, only in the morning and do nothing at night, that'd be
so
good.
5:30.
5:30. I really like wake up. The first thing that I want to do when I wake up in the morning for my perfect day was definitely have sex.
At 5:30?
Yeah.
But is your husband like waking up at 5:30? Because if
he
he likes waking up at 10.
He just goes back to sleep. It's fine.
Okay.
So I wake him up. That's the first thing. I know that there's these acronyms for like good morning routines and stuff, but mine, the first thing would be sex.
Then let's start with that. Okay.
Number 1, sex. Number 2,
so that's what, 2-3 minutes?
Like 50 or something.
And then we move on to something else.
All right. So I think that would be, for me, that's a really good way to wake up.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and then would be great to work out after that. Do I do that very often? No.
But you need to work out after that? It's like...
Yeah, it's just,
that's
an
your
extra.
Workout,
it's an extra.
It's an extra workout.
Yeah.
So sex, workout.
I also, since I just said that, it's actually very interesting. Each morning, and this is something that I do each morning, is I like to do a little bit of reflection, and I pray each morning. I'm Catholic.
Okay.
So I pray each morning. Generally, actually, before the sex.
Before the sex?
Yeah.
That's weird. Do it after next time.
I know, maybe I should do it
That's just
after.
weird.
But then that's something that it's kind of like meditative for me. It's reflective. I would like to. There's this thing called the 5-minute journal. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's kind of like helping you brainstorm. It takes 5 minutes a day. You think about your gratitude, your goals, and it gives you kind of questions.
Okay.
It's on back order right now, so I'm waiting for mine to arrive. And so I'd like to integrate that into my morning routine. A really good breakfast.
What's a good breakfast?
For me?
Yeah.
I'll tell you my perfect breakfast, but I never have time to cook it. Filipino breakfast is rice, eggs, and tocino. It's kind of like Filipino bacon.
That's a nice one.
It's really good.
Okay.
And then bananas or mangoes. That's a Filipino breakfast. It's a little hard to get here in Switzerland.
But it's tough to. I mean, in the morning, the issue is that you never have time.
I never have time for that, even if I go at 5:30. So
even if you wake up at 5:30, then cooking all this, and then you have all these dishes, and you're like, I'm never gonna do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like any sort of breakfast, and then run out the door. There should be a shower in there at some point.
Yeah, sure.
Like
that's the
out
basic
and the
stuff.
sex and stuff.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
That's a nice one.
But that I think is my perfect morning routine. That you have the reflection. With the 5-minute journal, it makes you reflect on what you are thankful for and what your goals are in life. Because as soon as I get up in the morning, I start thinking about all the things that I have to do. But I never think of like
the long term.
The long term, exactly. And for me, like my long term goal, especially with the Wine Academy, is to revolutionize the way that people think and drink wine. And so for me, that's my long term goal. Do I often think about that? No.
No, because you're doing all the day-to-day stuff, and you never think about the. All right, makes sense.
So
what was the name again?
5-minute journal.
5-minute journal. Okay.
So it has
There's stuff where they ask you you fill up.
Exactly.
Spots and
like what are you grateful for?
And it just make you think about these kind of questions.
Yeah, exactly. It makes you think a little bit. And so you get a little bit of prayer in there, a little bit of gratitude, a lot of sex, some working out, and then breakfast.
Then shower.
And then shower at some point. Yeah. That I think is our perfect morning routine. I think it'd be great.
All right, perfect. Well, Kat, thank you very, very much. Guys, that was the first episode of BYOB. Next time, we'll have another guest sitting right here. In the meantime, have a lot of morning sex
and wine.
Let's have sex and wine. All right, guys. Thank you very much. See you.